I started my campaign in Butler Terrace. My treasurer is Howard Johnson, a 33-year homeowner here in Butler Terrace. So we've gone door to door throughout Butler Terrace, and I know what the issues and the concerns are. I think the number one issue that I've heard is code enforcement. People putting their bulky trash out too early or too late and causing unsightly trash in the neighborhood. Too many cars parked on the streets so that it's hard to pass through the residential streets in the neighborhoods. So I've come up with a plan for code enforcement. I would divide code enforcement into two divisions. One would be proactive, one would be reactive. Proactive would be where the code enforcement officers would drive through the neighborhood, and whatever problems they see, they would address then and there without having to receive a 311 call or a computer-generated call. Police protection. As the police officer said earlier, panhandlers, community policing. I want to increase the patrols in the area. And the last and most important piece is economic development. No one up here has better economic development credentials than me. I sat on the Vickery Meadows TIF board for 9 years. I intend to create a TIF, tax increment financing district, from Forney Road all the way to Ferguson Road, and creating restaurants and grocery stores and pharmacies. That's what I've been told. That's what I will do. I have the experience. I can get it done. Thank you.
Two things directly I'll do. I just talked to Chief Coleman on last Thursday about starting a weed and seek. He said we couldn't do a weed and seek with something similar. He asked me to talk to the city attorney. I talked to the city attorney. We will start a crime watch on steroids, because that's a very important crime. I'm trying to get a witness. Concerned about the crime going down. We're concerned about code enforcement. Number two, economic development. I want to do something in economic development for this area that hadn't been done, because we have $700 million from the city every year for minorities to do business, and it's not happening in the area. It's just not for minorities. It can be for anyone, but we want to, right here in this area, bring economic development, businesses, and jobs to this area. I'm talking about in the next few months. September 2nd, I know this go past. I want to take the pastors to the White House and brief them on laws and policies so they can know what about business, because some of them don't know the difference between a city council and a U.S. congressman. So we want to educate them.
It's not working. It's that one.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. My name is James J.T. Turknet. I'm a pastor. Thank you.
Juanita Wallace. Two things in particular that I'm very interested in is the actual drug house that's in the neighborhood. It's been talked about, but nothing has been done. So what we're gonna have to do is devise a plan. In your meetings, you will have to come up with strategies as to what you're gonna do and who's gonna do what. Number one, you're gonna have to have people to actually observe what's going on and make phone calls, document everything, and put this thing to rest. The other thing in particular that we want to address is code compliance. I think most of the candidates very well understand that oftentimes they're not necessarily the neighbors, but other people dump things in your community, just like in my community. And we've got to make sure that code compliance is on their job, doing it every single day, not waiting for a catastrophe to happen, but actually being proactive as opposed to reactive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, two things. I'm concerned about crime too, but we gotta realize. Oh yes, I'm John Lawson. One of the things we have to consider when we're talking about crime, a lot of you people have worked hard and have accumulated things and have achieved things and have got lovely homes. But surrounding you are a population that don't have what you have, and I think for the most part, the crime that you have to deal with don't come from Butler Terrace, but outside of Butler Terrace. And I think something has to be done. Ms. Wallace mentioned the drug houses. You know, we've got 89 known drug houses in District 7. And we got to do something to inspire these young people, and maybe even you can be inspiration to some of these young people where there's dope, there's no hope. So maybe we could give them some hope, and there won't be so much dope, and we can reduce this crime area outside of Butler Terrace, and then the people of Butler Terrace can feel more secure. And another thing I gotta do, a lady made me promise that when I'm elected, that I do something about the dog. We gotta get the dog catchers in this neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Austin.
Thank you. My name is Hassani Burke. My campaign, my 2-year approach is to work on economic development and job growth, safety and security, and restoring the voice of the people to Dallas City Hall. Now, to that effect, the first thing that I'm going to do is sit down with the residents and leaders of Buckner Terrace and decide what is our 8-year vision for the area. What is it that we most want to achieve out of everything? To that end, there are a few things I've already researched. For example, we need more sit-down restaurants with quality food instead of fried food and fast food. We need a coffee house for the area. We need to rebrand Buckner as the entrance to Dallas and take that brand and use something to promote our neighborhood. We need to increase our involvement with businesses and their responsitivity to the community. We also need to continue with the land use survey so that Buckner Terrace can have control over what kind of businesses come into the area. In regards to safety and security, if you go to my website, there's a 4-point plan on how to deal with safety and security. That's increasing police patrols, targeting drug houses, code enforcement, and also increasing community policing. And the safety and security aspect is the thing that I would concentrate on most in the first 60 days, along with reducing the speed on Honeycutt. Thank you.
Ms. Young?
Tiffany Young. The first things I would do in the first 60 days, one, I would do just as I've done since 2007, and that's continuing to come to the Buckner Terrace Crime Watch and homeowners meeting as I've done as the park board representative. I will continue to do that as the city council representative. The next thing I would do is working to form partnerships. I know that you all, as I've heard in the meetings, are interested in the banners, and so we've got to find some partnerships to get those banners up here in Buckner Terrace. The next thing that I've already spoken with Dave Cossum's office, and that is getting an updated traffic study for this area. And so I've already had that conversation, and they are looking at how we can get an updated traffic study. The next thing I would do is, as you've seen on my campaign material, and that's forming a youth committee, a youth advisory committee, to hear from the young people in District 7 as to what some of the needs and the desires are as we look to make sure we're taking care of our future. And then the other thing I would do in the first 60 days is to get neighborhood leaders from every part of District 7 and have that first meeting with them, as well as hosting town hall meetings and hosting evening hours, so that those constituents who cannot make it to City Hall during the day, that I have made myself available to meet with constituents in the evening hours. Thank you.
All right, taking me back to my landline phone days in the house where you gotta go around in every room. So I, again, appreciate your flexibility, candidates. At least your message is being heard no matter the technology. What I must do at this point, and just as we have any elected official, I just wanted to say thank you for being here. The Honorable Carolyn Davis, current District 7 Council member, is here, so if you'll just wave to everybody and thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Number 3, resources are seemingly sparse when it comes to police protection in the neighborhood. Homes are being broken into, speeding drunk drivers are running into homes, and landscaping along major roads throughout the neighborhood. What steps would you take to help ensure our neighborhood is safe once again, so that the homeowners of Buckner Terrace and surrounding neighborhoods get to the point that they feel good about living in this part of East Dallas. Again, I'm going to say that again. It's a lengthy one. Resources are seemingly sparse when it comes to police protection in the neighborhood. Homes are being broken into, speeding drunk drivers are running into homes, and landscaping along major roads throughout the neighborhood. What steps would you take to help ensure our neighborhood is safe once again, so that neighborhoods of Buckner Terrace and the surrounding neighborhoods feel good about living in this part of East Dallas again? Please offer any specific concerns that you have heard your supporters talk about in the neighborhood. And we'll start with you, Ms. Furman. Mrs. Furman.
So specifically, some of the things that I've heard neighbors in Buckner Terrace talk about is the fact that there are known drug houses, and the length of time that that takes to get the neighborhood officers say need to be gotten so that those cases not only can be dealt with but can be won. The second thing that I've heard is that there are definitely violations that come from businesses and extracurricular activities from businesses taking place within the neighborhoods. Particularly the things that are contributing to this are the fact that there are issues with code enforcement both in the alleys while these things are happening, but also code enforcement along that comes with illegal dumping, and code enforcement about what business activities can actually take place inside of the businesses. One of the things that I think is extremely important is that when you have an organized, active, and engaged set of neighbors, that you provide the conduits for them to talk to the people who are helping them get their priorities met. I know that there are staffing issues associated with the budget that contribute to some of the code enforcement and some of the long response times. But with the relationship that we have with community colleges and with 40 universities within the area that have lots of strong and many criminal justice programs and criminal justice students, increasing interns and increasing the trained number of professionals going into these areas is extremely important to deal with that.
Make sure to introduce yourselves.
Kevin Felder. I think the question was with regard to some of the issues where people are running into the flower bed, so on and so forth. Many of the homeowners that I've spoken to and knocked on their doors and spoken to, they have requested speed bumps to be put on certain streets because people speed on certain streets in the neighborhoods. And so I think in order to achieve that, you have to get with the street department, and they have to do a traffic count. You know, it's a long drawn out process, but it can be done. So speed bumps, I would definitely work on those, that particular issue with the homeowners association, so that people won't speed through the side streets and the main streets that go through Buckner Terrace. And as I alluded to at my opening question, code enforcement, another issue. Again, people are selling cars off the streets in Buckner Terrace, and that is an issue. And that you have let me know loud and clear, you don't want people to sell cars in your neighborhood. Though, if someone wants to sell a car, they need to get a car lot. So that's one of the issues. Another issue is people are, too many cars on the streets that cause people not to be able to pass through, and you know, you just have to get some of those cars off the street. Some people need to park in their driveway behind their house, in their garage. So thank you.
James J.T. Turk in the campaign. As I said earlier, I addressed Chief Coleman about weed and seed and said we could start something again in the area. That'd be the first thing that we want to get operating there, because it's very important that we have a venue or a vehicle. Once we get the vehicle, we can drive anything through it. And then we will get all that economic development that we want in the area, like in the days, and excuse me, this is Buckner Terrace, but back in the days when I came here, it was Pleasant Grove. We called everything Pleasant Grove, so okay? Back in the day, I didn't know any better, okay? So I called it Pleasant Grove back in the days, didn't know. So this young man that gave me the understanding, no, this is different, this is East Dallas, so I I've been educated, okay? Thank you very much. And what we'll do is, we'll go knock on doors like we did in the early days, and we'll go to Liz Vineyards, Don Williams, and People Law, just like we did